Okay, okay. Here we go. So, welcome back to Cracks in Postmodernity with a very special guest today who we go way back to college days.
Yes.
Yes. So, Danielle Mendez, also known as D-Men's. You do a lot of things, Danielle. You produce, you write, you sing, you play all kinds of instruments. So tell us just a little bit of your background with music. How did your relationship start with music?
Sure. I guess one of my first experiences with music is with the marching band, oddly. My uncle was a band director for Atlantic City High School marching band. And I guess the early 90s, um, he was very influential with bringing like the Southern style of marching bands to the North in New Jersey area. So he was very much involved with mixing old school with current music, also with the dance routines and just how everything came together. It was like a really big experience for me, like as a kid. Um, so yeah, he realized that I was interested in music, and at 4 years old, he put me as a little drum major with the band. So I was learning all the dance routines with the girls, and just being around like hundreds of high school kids playing music around you. Like it was really my first experience um, in a musical environment that I can remember. Um, One thing that really stood out to me, I remember being in my mom's car, and um, I think it was Broadway by George Benson came on the radio. And then when we got to the football game, the band like played the exact song, like the dun,
Mhm.
dun, 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 dun. And I was like, wow, like how did they do that? Like as a little kid. So this really piqued my interest in wanting to learn more about music. Of course, like I heard music in church every Sunday. Like my mom was an avid church goer and my grandmother. So I had that culture too, just hearing music and gospel in church. My godmom, who lived with us at the time, was more into jazz. So I had that experience also. But I think the marching band was really my first introduction to music.
Mhm. And I think what we first connected on when we met in college was our shared love for R&B and soul music. So
Yes.
since we're going to talk a lot about different producers and R&B artists, what does R&B mean to you? Like, why does it matter to you personally?
Mm, that's a good question. I think just from my upbringing, just having it always be a presence in my life and something that I could connect to, it makes me want to contribute to its, to its existence and just preserving it and helping it to evolve. At the same time, um, I love the soulful part of R&B. I love that it has a groove. Sometimes soul music you might not have as much as a backbeat or a groove sometimes. So I feel with R&B, um, it always keeps a fusion of what's going on in the music culture. You know, like it evolves with what's going on around. Um, so yeah, I think it's just the stories, the songwriting, the ability to be able to have different groove elements and groove moments. um, you can feel it. Like for me, it's something that's real and that you can feel and just relate to. Like you feel the struggle, you feel the joy, you feel the different elements that make it what it is.
Mhm. Yeah, and like, I don't know, for me, I grew up hearing a lot of Motown. Like, that's mostly what my dad played. In addition to more recent people, like a lot of Sade, Mariah, Whitney, Aretha, all these people. So it wasn't until I guess I was maybe starting high school that I started to develop a relationship with the sound for myself. Because I guess I just started to recognize that these artists, the way that the style of singing, but also the production, it really gets to the root of their experience, their emotions, but going to the level
Mhm.
of the soul. Like it's not a superficial expression of their experience or their emotions. And there's just like such a human depth to it. And I think we can attribute that to the fact that, this style of music is rooted in the spirituals of the slaves. Like it's coming from a
Exactly.
really profound pain, suffering, but also this hope that, there's a promise of a greater life. There is something more than this. And even though maybe the social circumstances have changed since then, I think all music that's rooted in the spirituals conveys that very deep human struggle, that tension between like pain, but also hoping for something more that we can all relate to in a way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure, for sure.
So that being said, I feel like in the past, maybe 25, 30 years, like we've seen a lot of different styles of R&B come and go. Like we've seen from disco to new jack swing to hip hop
Mhm.
soul to some of what I don't know, like the alternative R&B we're hearing today. But some of the major producers, I want to talk about the ones who have kind of left a lasting mark on the genre up until this day. So,
Mhm.
who for you are some of the major players in R&B production? Like, who are the ones who really stand out to you?
Um, for me, I would have to definitely say Teddy Riley,
Mhm.
just in the fact that he put a lot of other producers in a position to succeed. Like if it wasn't for Teddy Riley, like we wouldn't have Rodney Jerkins, we wouldn't have Pharrell. Like Pharrell was an intern for Teddy, and he just allowed a lot of producers to have their moment. You know,
Mhm.
so definitely him and his contribution with the New Jack Swing sound, um, I think is important. Um, Definitely LA Reid and Babyface, the team that the production team that they had going in the 90s, plus with their own music, like with the deal, I think they're very important players in the R&B sound. Um, Getting more into the 2000s, Pharrell, as I already mentioned, like with the Neptunes, I think they brought something different and unique. Also, just their versatility into other genres, I think makes them key players for the genre. Timberland, The Dream. Um, yeah, I think for me these are pretty important people. Rodney Jerkins, of
Yeah.
course. Brian Michael Cox.
Yeah, because a lot of these producers, you see that once they kind of establish themselves with R&B, a lot of more mainstream or pop artists start asking them to produce for them.
Mhm.
So, like for example, I'm looking at this list. So, at least with Babyface and L.A. Reid, they become really big with Tony Braxton, with Bobby
Mhm.
Brown, and then you have Madonna asking them to produce an
Mhm.
R&B-ish kind of track for them. I think it was Take a Bow. That was like mid 90s or something. And then now like Ariana Grande's debut album, which is a little bit of a fusion of like a Whitney Mariah inspired R&B with some Broadway kind of stuff. Or like with um with Rodney Jerkins with Dark Child, he does a lot of these late 90s, early 2000s, so like Brandy Monica, some of Beyonce's tracks, J Lo, and then you have him producing Telephone for Lady Gaga. So you see that like there's this versatility, but even when they're doing these pop tracks, you hear the R&B roots. They're still
It's
there.
a hint in there. Yeah, for sure. And
Why
I
do
think
you
that's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
No,
No,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's important as a producer, just in general, to have your own sound or your own style. And even if you're doing another genre, to just have that mark that people still know it's you. And if who you are is rooted in a certain genre, then of course you're going to have hints of that in the other styles that you produce. So I think that's a good key of being a great producer, is having your own sound and your own style and sticking to that.
Why do you think that is that so many of these like more mainstream pop artists took an interest in these R&B producers?
Mm. I think coming out of the 90s, like, well, I guess 80s into 90s, R&B was such at a forefront, like in the industry. Like you had a lot of pop acts at the time, like doing R&B sounding tracks. There was a documentary, I don't know if you saw it, This Is Pop on Netflix.
Mhm.
And it was really talking about like Boyz II Men when they first came out and how all of a sudden it was 98 Degrees,
Yep.
Backstreet Boys, like all these other boy bands, like right after trying to do this boy band R&B sound that Boyz II Men had already established. So like you definitely have something with, if something is working, people want to jump on the bandwagon and reproduce it. So yeah, I think with R&B having such a wave in the 90s, that the pop industry, the pop side of it said, yeah, you know, why not influence some of that and have that be the sound of today? You know, if it's working, that's what we need to be doing. So
Yeah, and just speaking of the boy bands, you see that a lot of the producers like they'll start a boy band of their own that they'll produce for. So like take you have Jermaine Dupri with the So So Def sub label. He has Jagged Edge. Diddy does 112 for Bad Boy. Babyface does Boys to Men. I'm forgetting who else there is. I mean, Jodeci was
Jodeci.
who were they working with?
They were with Uptown Records with
Andre.
Andre, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you have a lot of these boy bands. Who do you think is the best out of all of them?
How's the best? Oh, that's really hard. I don't know. I think they all contribute like something different. Like Boyz II Men, like their harmonies, I think is one of their main characteristics. And just their vocal talent. I think like with Jodeci, you have more of a edgy influence, the way that the tracks were, it was more like rough, whereas opposed to Boyz II Men was trying to put a more like clean, universal image type thing. Jodeci was speaking more to like the culture of hip hop, like the culture, like their people, where they came from type sound. Yeah, so I think it's hard to like pick a favorite, but I love Jodeci, like some of their songs, Boyz II Men from time to time. Like Drew Hill, I like some of their songs too. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm partial to anything Jermaine Dupri produces. So, I mean, I think it's the production of Jagged Edge's songs, but also the vocals I think are really strong. I mean, you're right about the Boyz II Men harmony, but Jagged Edge I feel like doesn't get enough credit.
yeah, yeah, true.
They had the one with
What was it?
the Let's Get Married, the run with the
Let's
Run
Get
DMC
Married.
remix. Yeah, that one was popular. I mean, 112 had a lot of, I think they had a couple bigger ones.
Yeah.
Because they did what? They're the ones who did Peaches and Cream.
Peaches and Cream.
They
Yep.
did the Only You with B.I.G. Yeah. So that's the guy groups. What about the girl groups? What do you, so we have, so Rodney worked mostly with Destiny's Child. I think he got them most of their hits. Then you have TLC, you have
TLC.
Escape.
Yeah.
3LW was short-lived.
Wow, I forgot all of those.
Who produced 3LW? I forget.
I don't
Isn't
even
that
know.
Rodney?
I'm not even gonna say I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
3LW,
Well, 3LW.
Cheetah Girls. That was So So Def. That
Oh,
was
the
her
Cheetah
name.
Girls.
The Cheetah Girls. So which of the girl groups would you pick?
TLC. I just like the versatility of the members and how it came together as a group. Like everyone brought something different. Like T-Baz's tone is so unique just in itself, you know, her raspiness and her tone of voice. When you mix that with Chili and Left Eye with the rap bringing something different, I think like they're a unique group. Um, yeah, Destiny's Child, like I remember listening to them more when I was younger. Um, I would have to say, yeah, probably Destiny's Child I was listening to the most, but I don't know if that's just because it was popular in my youth. So it was like that was the thing to listen to.
I mean, it's really
But
only
I do remember.
Beyonce because Kelly and Michelle, she let them get a word in, but
You know,
uh,
one
Matthew,
line here or there.
poor
Yeah, Matthew
Michelle.
was strict. Trying to keep up.
And there was En Vogue. There was what was
Oh
the
yeah, the
other
90s
one?
ones, yeah.
The En Vogue.
In Vogue,
There was
there
another
was
one I'm
Jade,
forgetting.
there
Jade,
was
yeah. There
oh,
was one that
90s
sounded
ones.
like En Vogue.
But yeah, in Vogue, I would probably pick overall.
Yeah. I don't think Escape gets enough credit because like
Mm,
Tiny and Candy Burris, I mean, they have pretty good voices.
yeah, and their careers, like after that, was writing because they wrote Scrubs and some other hits for
Yeah.
like other
Mhm.
people. So I mean, definitely extremely talented artists and writers. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of someone else.
Mm. Well, if we move a little bit forward in time, I would say like when we were finishing high school, starting college, I think Neo and The Dream like had a huge influence because
Hmm.
they had a lot of really big hits,
Yeah.
but distinct styles. How would you distinguish their styles?
Like the dream, I feel like just his work with female artists, he knows the type of record to make for each artist. Like his work with Beyonce, his work with Mariah, his work with like Rihanna. Like you can, they don't sound like the same song was given to each of them. So this is something that I appreciate. Um, he allowed for people who have like bigger voices to shine, and then something catchy for people who might not. I don't mean to be shady or anything,
Mhm.
but it's like, you know, like he manufactured something that was a well fit for the artist. So I think this is a good characteristic as a producer. And also like he knows how to put out something commercial that's going to be like an anthem that's going to, you know, have that type of hit factor. Like, you know, he knows what the industry wants in this regard, and he gives it to them. Like,
Yeah. Because The Dream, it's much more the production, I don't want to say artificial, but like a lot of 808s, it's very bass driven, very electronic. Whereas Neo's a little more acoustic, usually guitar
yeah,
driven, very sentimental. I don't know. I mean, I respect Neo, especially as a songwriter, but I feel like I
yeah,
gravitate towards the style of The Dream because like there's something about that electronic production that has I don't know, it's powerful, it's catchy.
yeah, it's powerful and it fits commercially because so many other styles and genres use this, like the 808s, the electric um,
Mhm.
samples. So when you blend that with R&B plus the vocal production that is going on as well in the songwriting, like you have something that, like I was saying earlier, it's a recipe for a good hit, you know, if it's done correctly.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that so like when Mariah started to get more artistic freedom to do like R&B and a little bit of hip hop, she went with Jermaine Dupri. And I think like
Mm.
they vibed really well together for several albums.
Mhm.
But then I think we were seniors in high school when Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel came out. She did Obsessed with the Dream, and then the rest of the album was him. Like I don't think Jermaine had
Mhm.
anything. And it's I don't know. It was an interesting move because she and Jermaine were doing so well together and had
Yep,
a
yep.
very distinct sound. Like it was poppy, but still rooted in soul, had a hip hop edge. Whereas the Memoirs album with The Dream, again, like very electronic, but I feel like she knew her voice was starting to fade. So
Mm,
backing it up with that heavy bass, the 808, the electronic production, it kind of complemented the her voice because she wasn't belting as much anymore. Like it was getting
mm-hmm,
very
mm-hmm,
raspy, very like breathy. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
It was interesting how they kind of she paired up with him at the right time. I feel
Yep,
like
yep. And that's part
before.
of like the producer's job is to find what fits for you, like in the moment, you know. So like they'll notice if vocally it's not, you know, at a certain place where it was before or something like that, and they know how to get around that musically and to compliment you in the right way. Like that's their job. So like with that, you know, he was on point.
So let's focus now on some of like I guess the more hip hop driven producers who have worked with R&B artists. So like I'm thinking of Swizz Beatz and what he did for Beyonce's
Mhm.
Beat Day album. Because he considers so it was Upgrade You, it was Get Me Bodied, it was Ring the Alarm.
Mm.
He says that like those are the greatest songs he's produced, and the fact that he gave them to Beyonce was like a huge gift to her. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I've always been really fascinated by those tracks because
Mm.
he's just bringing together so many elements. Like, yes, it's a very hip hop production, but
Mm-hmm.
I also think those are some of her best vocal performances.
Mm.
So the fact that he's complementing these powerful vocals with the very heavy, gruff hip hop production, I don't know. I thought that was a very creative kind of mix.
Mm. No, I love Get Me Body.
Everyone does. Everyone must.
Ah,
Many memories
and
of that
bring me
song.
one. Yes. But yeah, no, just in general, like his drum programming
Mhm.
and the different cadences and stuff he uses really always brings an extra push, like on the production end. Like you know it's him, kind of, you know, when you hear the drum track,
Mhm.
he has a signature with it. So yeah, I think when you have this heavy beat, it pushes you a little more vocally because you have to, you know, sing on top of that. So when stuff is more poppy, you know, your voice has more space, I guess. You don't have to be as hard like when you execute the vocal, but with these rough drums and stuff like that, like it forces you to kind of push a little more. It might bring things out of you that you didn't even know were there in the beginning.
Yeah, because the Get Me Bodied beat, like he's borrowing a lot from like the Southern bounce kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And you even hear when she's singing, she has more of the Southern accent, the inflection
Yep,
in the
yep.
words. And with Upgrade You, I think that one was creative because he's sampling I think it was a Betty Wright song from the 80s or
Mm,
something, but these very kind of juxtaposing it with these kind of harsh horns and then the Jay-Z verse. It's just creative. It's very original.
mm,
But on the other hand, like I think as time went on, we started to see this trend with like more of these hip hop producers working for R&B artists. And like I think when we were finishing college, we saw DJ Mustard taking over everything.
yeah.
And it's okay, the beats are very catchy, but become so formulaic after a while because like now
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody, especially like people who had not had a hit in a while, people who were irrelevant, now they want a DJ Mustard beat so they can magically get on the charts again. But I don't think he really allows for the individuality of the artist to come through. It's
Yeah.
just the catchy beat which he recycles again and again, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. And this is something like at some point it's like, wow, is it better just for the producer to have the album and have the artist featured? Because you're not giving something unique to each artist. You know, you can't tell who is who at the end of the day. I mean, like you might be able to tell their vocal tone, but musically, it's like, what are they saying? You know. So yeah, I definitely understand that with the DJ Mustard
Yeah, some people are
cycle that we
desperate.
had. Yeah.
Yeah, desperate to stay relevant. But so let's move on to this question of like a career driven by actual artistry and craft as a musician versus your persona or the hype built up around you. And like the main kind of people we've talked about in the past are people like Beyonce and Rihanna, who
Mm,
have become very big and remain relevant over these years. But if we start with Beyonce, she's trained as a vocalist. um,
yeah.
but doesn't continue in that vein. Like what did you see
Mm.
happening to her as her career kind of continued?
That's an interesting question. I mean, yeah, I definitely personally like I consider her as a vocal artist. Um, like her art is most strong in the vocal category. I feel she works very hard, and I mean, she deserves the level that she is because she puts in the work. You know, behind the scenes, it's not that easy to have that type of vocal perfection, and also to dance on top of that, and to be on point, you know, all the time. It takes a lot of behind the scenes rehearsal training and stuff. So I definitely give her props in that regard. Um, it's just musically for me, I feel whatever the trend is like she's gonna do it, you know. Um,
Yeah.
just in the past couple of years, hearing her like kind of do the talk sing thing for me is like you're a singer, like I want you to sing, you know, like doing this talk almost rap type thing, like I don't think it's necessary. Like I don't feel that she's at the level where she should have to do this to be relevant. Like, you know, you're Beyonce. I don't know if personally if that's her choice or not, like because I know a lot of time with management and your team, you might not have as much of a say so. um, I guess more for new artists. You might not have as much of a say so in the direction musically that you want to go. So you're forced to do whatever the flavor of the week is. But I think at her level, you know, it's not necessary. And I'm looking forward to her getting back to stuff like she was doing in the beginning, um, like this style that she was doing when she first came out, where it was more soulful, like she was singing a lot more. You could hear different textures of her voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I feel she's doing a lot, making different social stances and stuff like that, which is good with her music, with the visuals, and things from time to time. So that's important too. Like that's a part of her artistry. Um, but yeah, like I would love for her to do like a soul album at one point, just to see like how that would come out.
Yeah, because I mean, she could. Because yeah, like when you
Mm-hmm.
think back to Dangerously in Love, very deeply
Mm-hmm.
rooted in, kind of traditional soul slow jams. And even in the samples, from like 70s, 80s songs. And then still with B-Day, you do see, I would say, more powerful vocals, but still, again, a lot of depth, a lot of texture. It's changes though with the I Am Sasha Fierce with
Mm-hmm.
Four. You see
Or
her, it's just kind of not flat, but not very deep, at least. Like there isn't
mm-hmm.
anything that provocative about the vocals. And then from the Beyonce album afterwards, like, yeah, a lot of rap singing. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like she's kind of abandoning the vocal artistry for building up this hype. And,
Mm-hmm.
it is artistic in itself, but I do think you lose some integrity when you kind of leave behind the work of developing your vocals and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but at least she's not Rihanna, who, I mean, I don't really know. What does Rihanna do? I don't know if I can consider her an artist. Can you consider her one?
I think she's a good businesswoman at this
Yeah,
point. I
fair.
think she's doing well. in that aspect. And if you look at it, you know, she was involved with the music business. And you know, she did what she needed to do to promote herself, for people to see her, for her to build her brand. And then after you know, she's at the place she is now. It's just the way the industry goes sometimes. If you have a certain look, if you can sing a little bit, and if you have a team around you that's going to push you here or there, like, you know, it can work. And it's a shame now that there's so many people who are actually, you know, striving to do music and to sing and to be artists and this and that. And then sometimes you just see people who might have a pretty face and just might be able to carry a little tune, you know, and it pops off for them while other people are really like, you know, putting their life effort into building something. So,
because I feel like
I don't
she's
know.
totally manufactured by a team. Like I don't know what
Yeah.
I don't think she brings anything of her own to the table other than like her looks, or because someone else is dressing her, someone else is writing the songs, producing the songs. I don't even think she dances. So it's just like you're a manufactured persona, which is still an interesting one, but I don't know if it's hers. You know,
And I don't know if we will ever know. I mean,
a mystery, indeed.
yeah.
But then, like, we have had these powerful vocalists, even musicians. Like, I always think about what happened to Jennifer Hudson, what happened to Alicia Keys, who are artists who are extremely talented, but I guess never really found a niche that was marketable, or I guess the
I
market
love
changed.
Alicia. Yeah, I love Alicia. Like when she first came out, I think that was her. You
Mhm.
know, like her first 2, 3 albums. I think that was more her. After, I think like the same situation with Beyonce, she tried to go more pop and see how she could be more mainstream, I guess. But for me, like she was already mainstream doing what it was that she
Yeah,
does, you know. So I don't
that was
think
a
it's
weird
a
move.
need, yeah, for everyone to feel that they need to do something pop. I mean, it's cool if that's what she wanted to do artistically. You want to try um, a new style, like do your thing, but like don't lose your way. I
Mhm.
feel, you know, or it's a way to do it and still keep the essence of um, who you are. Like I don't know, but yeah, it was really weird for me, Alicia. I was home, like back in the States, over the summer, and they had a concert on TV1 that
Okay.
she did, but it was just her and the band. There was no audience, so it was a little awkward because there was like nobody
Yeah.
there. But I didn't know any of the songs. I knew like one or two that she sang for the concert, and I was like, what are the rest of these songs? Like, I don't know. And I was waiting to hear like, you know, the old favorites.
Hmm.
I mean, I know as an artist, you want to promote your new work and this and that, which is great. But it's like maybe a little nostalgia somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
But me
know.
and my mom were very confused about the concert. But I love Alicia Keys, and she's a very talented songwriter,
Yes.
musician, artist, and I'm looking forward, um, I guess, hearing her get back to the stuff she did when she came out, like, and or you know, new stuff. I'm into her evolution. You know.
And she's classically
I'm checking
trained,
it.
isn't
Yeah.
she? In piano.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can
Yep.
hear that influence. Like she does
Mm-hmm.
have the soul, the hip hop, but a little bit of the classical edge as well.
Yes.
Whereas someone like Jennifer Hudson, who's like purely a vocalist, the production wise, very weird because the first album,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Neo who wrote Spotlight, which was like a kind of contemporary R&B catchy song. She had a couple of like, a couple of ballads, gospelish ones, more hip hop driven. And then after that, like she had the kind of disco thing, which was
Mm-hmm.
weird. I don't know what that was, but I guess there isn't really a niche anymore for people who are like the Whitneys or the
Mhm.
Celines, the Mariahs, who are just straight up vocalists. Because I don't
Yeah.
know, like what
I
happened.
don't. Well, with Jennifer, I feel like I always felt that the production, it was hard to get right because I felt like on the production, I don't know if she was being told to hold back a little bit so that it comes across more commercial with certain songs.
Mhm.
But you can hear that it's kind of hard to find a match with her voice because it is so strong to
Yeah.
come across commercially, you know.
Mm.
Like with the movies and things like that, she really has a stage and a platform to really just let her voice shine. And I think that's a good avenue that she's doing, you know, in this lane. And I think it just takes a little more work, I don't know, just to to figure out how to get such a powerful voice that she has to be captured in this, you know, single format, you know, with commercial music. Whitney was different because her tone could easily come across commercially, you know.
Mhm.
Every song that, you know, if she wanted to go to church, she could, but if she wanted to pull back, she had that ability to pull back and to still have a lightness to her voice. Um, so I think with that, Whitney is the best, just
Mhm.
in general, being able to have that control and different tonalities of voice under control. Um, with Jennifer, I think it's just finding the right production that serves her voice well,
Yeah.
and not trying to fit her voice into a mold of, oh, this
Mm.
works for radio, this, you know. So I think that's difficult.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
So how about blue-eyed soul, as they call it, white R&B
Mm.
singers? Who do you think actually
I love them too.
who do you respect out of the many that exist?
There's so many, like, I'm just gonna go old school
Mhm.
for a second. Bobby Caldwell
Oh, yes.
and Michael McDonald. Like I
Oh
love
my God.
I love Michael McDonald. Like it's so soulful from the Doobie Brothers all the way through. Like it's legit. Like the musicianship, the tonality of voice. Like I love it. Um, like Halls and Oates is another group, you know, from the 70s. No, but they do their thing, you know, do your thing, do your thing. My problem is, and I don't have much of a problem, but it's just when the industry doesn't allow, I don't know, or kind of stifles Black artists from doing more soulful sounds, but it's okay for like the blue-eyed soul to do it. Like this is the
Yeah.
only thing that kind of disturbs me. Like for me, "Push Your Love Girl" by Justin Timberlake. Like
Justin.
I love this song. Oh yeah, yeah, Justin Timberlake. Um, I love this song, but like would Usher be able to do that? Would
Mm.
Chris Brown be able to do that if they wanted to? Like this is something I question. Like I don't know. Maybe they don't like it, or maybe they wouldn't want to do it. That's why they don't do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering. A part of me wonders if they wanted to do it, would they be allowed, or do they have to do something always fused with R&B and hip hop? You know, does it have to always have a hip hop overtone?
Hmm. So if you had to pick out of Justin Timberlake, Robin Thicke, and John B, who has the most
Oh,
kind of authentic sound?
it's difficult. That's really difficult
They
because
all
at
have different
first,
sounds, though.
yeah,
They're
but at
not.
the same time, I don't, because at the beginning, Justin Timberlake was doing a lot of Michael Jackson type
Hmm.
stuff. It was like trying to mimic Michael, basically.
Yes.
And I feel until he got with Timberland, he started to have his own kind of sound sonically a little bit
Hmm.
with the production and the songs. But I love Justin Timberlake. Um, John B, definitely more soulful, but in the beginning, Babyface was doing a lot of the writing, and you can definitely hear
Yes.
Babyface all over him,
Yeah.
you know? So
Mhm.
it's like,
He came into
who
his
is
own
John B really? Yeah, like, but in
eventually.
the beginning, like, you always had a direct representation of something.
Mm.
Robin Thicke, I'm trying to see, like, in the beginning, what do you think? Was he like anyone, or is he like more of himself?
In the beginning, well, remember he had that album that was not commercially successful before Lost Without You came
Mm,
out, which was like it was soul, a little folky, very guitarish. But yeah,
mm-hmm,
Lost Without You, I don't I think like the falsetto, like it's soulful, but I don't think
mm,
he I don't really feel all of him on these tracks. At least like
mm.
John B, like he's just totally in it. That's him. Robin Thicke, I'm not totally convinced by.
Did you hear? I just heard an article last week where John B was feeling threatened by Robin Thicke because Babyface signed Robin after or something like that.
Ew.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah. I just read that the other day, and he was saying like now they're cool, I guess. But in the
Mm,
beginning, he was feeling like a little threatened, a little bit. Just like,
yeah.
oh, why did you guys take him like right after?
Mm.
Even
Well,
though
it's
Robin had a
all
little slow
hard.
start, but
Yeah. Hmm. So then with the girls, I feel like people like Ariana have overshadowed people like JoJo. Because like JoJo, I mean,
mm,
look, they're both really great vocalists. I don't think anyone can deny it. JoJo does have like very rooted in soul, and you see like on
yeah.
YouTube, she has these live performances that she
Mm,
knows soul, whereas Ariana, yeah, like she listened to Whitney and Mariah, but not, you know, and like what's weird to me is that okay, the debut album, you have who is it? You have Dark Child, no, not Dark Child. You have Babyface making these songs that sound like a throwback to kind of 90s poppy R&B.
mhm,
But then now like it's just all trap. And I feel
mm,
like it's very fake because one, I think you're just trying to be popular, but two, I think the beats just totally overpower her vocals, but also just her
mm.
as a person. It's like she's not present on these trappy kind of songs. I just feel like she's trying too hard.
Mm. I feel she has her lane that she
Mm,
wants to make sure that she stays in, you know. Um, I mean, which is good. She has her crowd, she has her following, she does her thing. Um, as you said, I hear a lot of Mariah, I hear a lot of Whitney, strong influence just in the vocal riffs and
mhm.
um, approach, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of Celine too.
Yeah, and for the younger kids and stuff who might not be familiar with the older
Mm,
artists and their repertoire, for them, like, you know, it's something new and fresh. So I guess that's another way to think about it.
mm,
But yeah, JoJo, like, love her. And I agree that I feel she doesn't get as much recognition as she should. Maybe just with the label situation, like I don't know what's going on with her at the moment. But yeah, definitely a JoJo fan.
mm. What about out of the British white girls? Who are you most into?
Adele, who else is there? Are we
There's
talking about?
Amy, there's Joss Stone.
Oh, Amy. Oh, I'll say Amy first, I
You'll
guess.
say Amy first.
Yes.
Amy's a jazz singer, though, primarily.
Yeah, that's why I'll say Amy
Soulful
first.
jazz. I
Same
mean, I
here.
respect Adele, but I've never really gotten into her. I
I
don't,
just did lately because I'm working with one of the producers who worked on her first album, Frank.
okay.
So I didn't even really know this album that much. So lately I've been listening more and listening to like a lot of the stuff before she came out. So this
Mhm.
is kind of interesting. But as far as like artistry, I feel she's in her own lane, like trying to fuse together the jazz with the pop, with the soul. I think the Back to Black album
Mhm.
was something special for her. And yeah, Adele, um, definitely killer, like, you know, with the ballads, like I feel
Yeah.
her, I feel something. Josh as well, like when I was younger, I was listening more um, to Josh, but she has a great tone,
Mhm.
very soulful, like I feel her when she sings. Um, and I think that's what it's about. Like, I mean, me personally, I don't care what race the person is who's singing R&B or soul music, but as long as it can be felt and it's not coming across like a gimmick or
Mhm.
mimicking someone and then later looking for some type of expectation from people. Like, I don't think that part of it is cool, but as long as you can be felt, as long as people feel you, at the end of the day, I think that's all that matters, you know.
Mhm. So then just to wrap things up, we often talk about like when you watch these award shows, you have people getting lifetime achievements from, 70s, 80s. Is anyone today gonna last for another 20 years? Like, who do you think, if anyone, is going to be getting lifetime achievement awards?
Well, it's funny you asked that question because I was just confused. I mean, I love Maxwell,
Hmm.
but he got one for the Soul Train Music Awards coming this weekend. He's like the lifetime achievement person.
His lifetime hasn't been that long yet.
That's what that's what I was kind
I
of concerned.
know.
I was like, wow, are we out of people from that like decade?
Mhm.
Are we starting with the 90s people? Like that's scary. That makes me feel like extra old. Like lifetime achievement for people coming out in the 90s. Like we had to have missed someone somewhere. Like this is ridiculous. I don't know. I
I
mean,
think,
shout out to
yes, some of
Maxwell. I love him.
the neo soul artists, sure, will be remembered. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
doing that much right now, but
Well, especially with this whole new wave of R&B going on with everyone trying to, well, at least a lot of the females is very Erica,
yes.
um, you know, chill, Aaliyah type vibe,
Mhm.
you know. Um, so I think that's going to resurface these people who paved the way for that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Erica Badu definitely, I think she'll have a lifetime achievement award.
Jill Scott,
Alicia, Jill,
Alicia. Yeah.
mm, John Legend, they'll probably give him one,
Then,
even though he's long.
no, that's okay. We can spare him.
On the pop side. Oh God.
Mhm.
Oh,
Who are you listening?
D'Angelo.
D'Angelo, yeah.
He's gonna
Um,
have one, definitely.
who
Um,
today though? Like, who is on your
they'll give one to
radar?
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh wait, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Who's
who
on?
today?
So lately I've actually been listening to another Blue Eyed Soul, but it's more in the jazz R&B
Mhm.
soul. Tom Misch from UK. I
Okay.
really enjoy him. He did like a disco groove. He's a guitarist, so a lot of people have been saying like he's next with the John Mayer type vibe. But he definitely influences like the beat culture with jazz
Hmm.
and stuff like this. So I really like Tom Misch. I've been listening to him often. Um, I like Alex Isley.
Alex Isley. Okay.
I think she's the daughter. Is it Alex or Alexa? I think it's Alex.
Okay.
That's a shame.
Alex
But
Isley.
yeah, look that up.
Is that Ronald Isley?
The no, it's the daughter of
Related?
the guitarist. The guitarist,
Ernie.
like the brother. Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's his daughter,
okay, that
but
one.
I'm not sure. Do you see
Interesting.
Alex?
Yes, Alex Isley. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So let's
Masego.
Masego. Okay, I see Masego here. Worked with Alex Isley. Yeah, I haven't been following any of the new people. I mean, I
Lucky
hear
Day.
stuff. Yeah, like I hear stuff and I'm like, it's interesting, but I just don't have
Mm,
the
yeah,
drive to
yeah. To
follow
really
into
follow, it's like
them.
songs.
Yeah, no, I don't have the energy. I'm getting
But
old.
I think like D Mile, just for production note, I think he's really doing a good job with the production now for the R&B. Like he did
Mhm.
Lucky Day, he did the Bruno Mars and Anderson album that just tried to resurface 70s
Oh yeah. Okay.
R&B.
A lot
But
of
yeah,
the
D Mile.
what about I hear a lot of young people talking about Brent Fayaz. How do you say his name?
Oh, I never heard of that.
No, it's
Him.
he's like big amongst young people. Like very emo, kind of, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Ari Lennox is another one I hear a lot about. Very
Oh, yeah.
Erica
Yeah.
style vocals.
Yeah. Very Erica.
Um, who is there's some other guy, Rivers.
Giveon.
No, it was
Leon Bridges.
Leon Bridges, yes.
Yeah, I like him too. He's more soulful, but more like, so when he started, he was doing very throwback, like
Hmm.
50s type sounding stuff. And I think here recently he's been doing I mean soul, but more in an acoustic manner, you know,
Hmm.
like more down home type
Yeah.
feeling. So
Okay. So
yeah,
then,
definitely check him out.
okay. So Leon
PJ
Bridges.
Morton also,
Yes,
like shout out
PJ
to PJ.
Morton, Yeba. I
Yeah,
haven't
I
been
love
listening
you.
to her much, but I know they've collaborated.
Oh, I love Yeba
Yeba.
too.
Yeah, Drake did her a favor by putting her on that track. Got her more attention.
Yes.
Okay. So more importantly, can you plug some of your music? Where do we find you?
Oh, yeah. So on Instagram at Dani Mendez Music. I'm taking a little social break right now, but next week I'm getting back in the groove of that.
Mhm,
I'm actually in the middle of working on like my debut project and stuff with some producers.
mhm.
So hopefully next year we'll have like a single and all that mapped out. But for right now, you can follow me, Dani Mendez Music.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Danielle, for joining us.
Oh,
And
thank you. It's been
we
fun.
we hope we'll have you again.
Yes, 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 with
Yes,
pleasure.
indeed.